is Arun. Dr. Arun.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Arun. Thanks for coming.
Good morning, and a warm welcome to everyone who has come from various parts of the country and the world to the famous World Laparoscopy Hospital, which is a pioneering effect by Professor Mishra for training of laparoscopy and spreading of the skills and knowledge of laparoscopy to various parts of the world. I must congratulate Professor Mishra, and on my behalf, if we could have a round of applause to acknowledge Professor Mishra. I have known Professor Mishra for the last 12 years, and I have never seen anyone more dedicated when it comes to training and spreading of knowledge. So it is a great honor and pleasure to be with Professor Mishra. Now, to move on to the patient, we are doing bariatric surgery, and everyone knows bariatric surgery is weight loss surgery, which... Can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Should I move towards the patient, or am I okay here?
As you wish.
Okay, I will move towards the patient while talking so that I can also show what's going on there. Now, bariatric surgery is indicated in patients who have a body mass index of more than 40 or body mass index of more than 40, or they have... It's okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can see also.
Okay, great. So body mass index of more than 40. Body mass index is defined as weight in kilograms divided by square of height in meters. So anyone who's got a body mass index of more than 40 and has failed on diet and exercise control of their weight, do not have any other medical cause of high weight, qualify for bariatric surgery. Also, we have patients who have a BMI more than 35 with a comorbidity like diabetes, blood pressure. They also would qualify for bariatric surgery. These days, we are also doing bariatric surgery for BMI less than 35 in diabetics who have diabetes type 2 for less than 5 years with a high C-peptide level, and that is known as metabolic surgery. So now bariatric surgery is known as bariatric and metabolic surgery. So we are doing this on this lady who is 5 feet 1 inch with a weight of 95, which puts her BMI close to 45, and she is undergoing the procedure. Currently, there are 3 bariatric procedures which are available to us, which are acceptable in India. One is a gastric banding, second is a gastric sleeve resection, and third is a gastric bypass. Gastric banding has not succeeded in giving us the results which we have wanted in Indian conditions. Hence, we have almost stopped doing gastric banding. The last band I did was about 3 to 4 years ago. These days, we are removing more bands than we put in bands. Then it leaves us with sleeve gastrectomy and gastric bypass surgery. I would do a sleeve gastrectomy in an Indian patient who is relatively young. The BMI is not too high. Generally, vegetarians would also qualify better for sleeve gastrectomy. Bypass procedure is done in people who have a higher BMI, who have got more comorbidities like diabetes, blood pressure, non-vegetarians who we know would not develop malnutrition following the procedure. So in vegetarians, again, I am reluctant to do bypass surgery because they can develop various kinds of deficiencies. Are there any questions regarding the indications? We can address that while we are getting ready with the patient.
Yes, sir. Actually, the audience, they want to know what is the age over laparoscopic surgery if you will do by robotic in sleeve gastrectomy.
Okay. Now, robotic surgery when we do, that is a general advantage of robotics, whereby I can have control of the camera and the 3 instruments, all 3 together. So I can hold the stomach and the omentum with 2 of my robotic arms while the 3rd arm is dissecting. The camera is absolutely steady. We don't get fogging of the camera. The camera doesn't have to come in and out in a difficult situation. The instruments bend, so I can turn the stomach around, and these advantages are there. When I have to suture the staple line, again, the suturing of the robot is of tremendous advantage. A dissection around the spleen, which is the area where you can get bleeding, becomes very easy when we talk about robotic bariatric surgery. We don't as yet have the robotic staplers here, but if the robotic stapler was here, then I would also have the control of the staple through the robot. Currently, my assistant surgeon is the one who would be firing the staples. Another advantage becomes that if he gets to train himself to fire the staple, maybe he can be there at the console, controlling the movement while I guide him stapling. So for training of minimal access surgery also, robot is a very good tool because it's very steady, very reliable, and the chances of errors have greatly reduced.
Arun, I've seen quite recently the youngsters. There has been deficiencies, and we have to treat the deficiencies even though we have done sleeve gastrectomies alone. What is your experience with these kind of patients?
See, bariatric patients, just because they are overweight does not mean they are overnourished. And if we do pre-op investigations, we will find a good number of them to be iron deficient, to be protein deficient, folic acid, B12, and vitamin D3. So these deficiencies could be there from before, hence it's important to do these investigations pre-op. If any of them have these deficiencies, the deficiencies get exaggerated. But when we are comparing sleeve to bypass, the incidence of deficiencies are much less with sleeve gastrectomy because there is no absorptive disorder that we are creating. It is only a restrictive procedure. So nothing prevents them from eating healthy diet and having a good nutritional status.
Yeah, I do agree with you, but with all these investigations, all being normal, then also we do get it.
Yes,
I mean, it's not that we don't get deficiencies in sleep.
Sure.
Just to make.
Yes, we definitely get deficiencies.
Yeah.
So post-op diet counseling is of paramount importance, and post-op follow-up, because we've had patients. There was one patient who came with vomiting, and we kept thinking that his sleeve is very narrow, and that is why he's vomiting. We got his endoscopy done, we got the barium done, no problem, no reflux, nothing. We were totally foxed. Finally, we discovered that the patient actually had vitamin B1 deficiency, which causes vomiting. And we gave him B1 injections, and by the evening his vomiting had stopped. It was, like magic.
Yeah, that's right.
Are we ready? So, after the very serious done. Yes.
That's right. So just for the benefit of the audience,
Sure.
there was some controversy, in the recent past where a 14-year-old was taken up for a bariatric. So what would you think is the extremes of age where you would perform the surgery?
See, currently it is 18 to 65. And I think if a 14-year-old is undergoing bariatric surgery, the parents should be put in jail. Because the 14-year-old is not the one who goes and buys, he does not have the money to go and buy a food which has led to obesity. And without good parents counseling, we should not be rushing into, treating a 14-year-old. I would not be in favor.
What are your alternatives to the Veress needle for creating pneumoperitoneum in a bariatric patient?
Right. Alternative is to use an OptiPort where you can have a vision, direct vision, you put the telescope into it. Can I have a trocar? दूसरा प्लास्टिक वाला इनका डिस्पोजेबल.
Sir, does the bariatric surgery always mean minimal access surgery?
Yes, to do an open bariatric surgery, is, I think, punishment for the surgeon.
Has anybody attempted open surgery, sir?
Yes. Open bariatric surgery used to be done before laparoscopy.
Okay.
Definitely.
And so, what is your experience about the gastric plication for the obesity?
Teen SHE. Teen. We have total 3, no?
So,
Yeah, Dr. Chan.
so we have 12 millimeters
Yeah.
and 5 millimeters.
Okay, yeah. So get the other 12 millimeter. Now, this, can you see this trocar? Can you see this trocar?
Yes, sir, we can see, sir.
Now, this trocar has a plastic transparent tip here, and the telescope can go in from here. So we can pass the telescope in, and while looking at the tissues, this trocar can go inside. So that's the other alternative. The third alternative is an open access, which I think in bariatric cases becomes very difficult because the peritoneum will be at least 2 to 3 inches below the skin. So that open access technique becomes very difficult here.
And moreover, I think, sir, these cannulas are threaded also. They've got a sleeve also.
Sure.
And I think that's for the
The camera or aage
holding this. I think, sir, these trocars, these cannulas also have sleeves.
Yes. Can you see the patient?
Yeah, we can see it.
Head up kar de. Now we are going to do a head up for the patient, and usually in bariatric surgery we end up doing almost 45-degree head up.
What are your pressure settings for pneumoperitoneum?
Pneumoperitoneum pressure settings, we start at 18, but eventually we will reduce it. Head up also. Okay. So 30 maximum. Yeah. No, that's fine, that's fine. I want maximum. This is maximum. Okay. Can you trocar is put higher up. The reason being we have to go right up to the hiatus there. So my first trocar goes above about 2/3, 1/3 between xiphisternum and umbilicus. Stop here. Okay, now let's connect the CO2. Is the telescope ready?
So what is the capacity of insufflator that you are using, sir?
This is a high flow insufflator which can go up to 20 liters a minute. 20 liters per second.
So do you use 2 insufflators also for the super obese?
So usually the insufflator it's not a problem. Now what you are seeing, can we switch to the internal view? इसमें से अच्छा इसमें से कनेक्टेड नहीं है Okay, fine. Now what we will show you is how the robot is set up. Robotic first. Yeah. Can we have the robotic parts? Nice.
Dr. Arun, for the benefit of the audience,
Yeah.
I think we should tell them that in every robotic theatre we should also have a laparoscopic cart.
Yes.
Because for some reason, after you do a diagnostic laparoscopy and you find that you cannot proceed robotically, I think we should move on to the laparoscopic cart. and
Yes.
proceed.
Yes. Absolutely. I think you very rightly stressed that a very important point.
Not only that, sir, the number of the delegates, they were just discussing with me that since they don't have robotic with them, So, you know, they would rather like to see the laparoscopic procedure, sir, because the availability of robotic is you know, as you know, is not everywhere.
Okay, then what we can do
Yes, sir.
is I can show you the docking of the robot, how the instruments move,
Yes, sir.
and maybe the surgery itself can be done laparoscopic if that's what people want.
Yes, sir, because basically, you know, sir, most of the surgeons here, so they are more trained in laparoscopy rather than in robotics.
Okay.
So this was the, I think, the common feeling amongst all the delegates that I think they should have a laparoscopic surgery rather than the robotics. Sir.
प्रेशर कितना? CO2 18 का.
Initially, because of the fogging and all, you know, the vision card is not showing very good quality picture. And but maybe I think the camera, the telescopic camera is still not, you know, switched on. This is the second port which you're putting under vision. You know, the robotic cameras are 8 millimeter in size, and you know, there is a remote sensing technology because of which, you know, there is no lateral pressure on the abdominal wall. So if you can see that there is a, you know, one gray band is there. So this gray band stays inside the, you know, the parietes.
आप उसको नहीं कनेक्ट कर रहे हैं?
So you know, you can differentiate that this is the robotic cannula, you know, from the remote sensing.
वो वाला व्यू ऑडिटोरियम में कनेक्ट नहीं होगा? नहीं, आप उसको कर सकते हो कनेक्ट. हाँ, इस वीडियो लगेगा. Okay, Dr. Chauhan, we are just connecting the screen directly to.
Comment for the first port. Do you, every time you put the camera port 1/3, 2/3 between xiphoid and umbilicus, or there is some difference for men?
No, I would not make any difference for men and women otherwise. But yes, if the man is much taller,
Yes.
then what we may have to do is go with the first port little higher.
Yes, yes. Because
Because
it's more deep, and sometimes
Sure.
If we put the same port placement, we will have some difficulty for getting the good picture for viewing the hiatus.
Yes, absolutely. See, what I do is, can you show me the telescope? See, this is the telescope. If this is the length of the telescope, I want half of the length of the telescope to be inside and to reach my gastroesophageal junction. So that is the aim. So naturally, if the patient is tall, like you are saying in a male, I will have to go higher up, and as the height of the patient is less, I can go further lower down. You are absolutely right.
Professor, have you done before the operation any upper GI endoscopy for the patient?
Yes, we always do an upper GI endoscopy in these patients who are undergoing sleeve gastrectomy, because a patient who's got a hiatus hernia would get worsening of symptoms if you do a sleeve gastrectomy.
And how about if the patient has a GERD, reflux
Yes.
esophagitis? If the patient has any esophagitis or any ulcer in the lower third of the esophagus, what do you do?
We have to first treat that, and in those patients, I would prefer to do a gastric bypass rather than.
Yes. But simple hiatal, how about simple hiatal hernia? What do you do?
See, hiatus hernia, because after sleeve gastrectomy, you are reducing the size of the stomach. The pylorus remains as it is. So what will happen is that the pressure at the GE junction is going to rise. And in such patients, if the pressure is going to rise, those who may not be having GERD with the hiatus hernia, the situation might actually get worse. So one should avoid sleeve gastrectomy in patients with GERD and prefer to do a bypass.
What's your opinion about the hiatal hernia repair during sleeve gastrectomy?
Hiatal hernia repair during sleeve gastrectomy, you can only do suturing of the crura.
Yes.
So that I would only do in patients who have not found any significant hiatus hernia during the endoscopy. But at the time of surgery, I find that the hiatus is wide. Then I will have to do this. There is no way I can do a fundoplication in this patient because there is no fundus.
Yes.
So it is only done in incidental. I am not in favor of hiatus hernia patient undergoing sleeve gastrectomy with crural repair.
Thank you. Tell us about your port placements. Where do you put your other ports?
Okay, right. Can you show the outside? Now, this is the first port. You can see that?
Yes, yes, yes.
At the zippy sternum, we've got a 5 millimeter port for the liver retractor. Then we have two ports on either side in the subcostal region, mid-clavicular line, which will be my main working arms. And there is a lateral port on the patient's left, which is going to be the assistant port. You are seeing the external view right now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now I am putting in a liver retractor and soon we will show you the internal view once things are ready.
Do you give to your patient any specific diet to reduce the size of liver before surgery or no?
Not anymore. When bariatric surgery started, we used to do a lot. But as time has passed, we have realized that we can do without it.
If you see a huge left liver lobe, what do you do for better exposure? Sometimes we have a very huge left lobe of liver, and it makes very difficult for us to do to have access to hiatus and his angle.
So you need a good liver retractor.
Yes.
Can you show us the internal view for a short while? Can we switch to the internal view? Are you seeing the internal view now?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay, no problem. Just wipe. Have you got some hot water? No. Hot water? Hey, wipe them. Wipe.
Dr. Posek and Dr. Neelamegam here. Retractor which is malleable, you can use a harder retractor which is an Ethicen, or you can sling it. So these are different ways where you can retract, the bigger livers on the left.
Thank you.
Or pre-operatively, you can starve the patient.
Yes.
So that there's a bit of, the liver size decreases.
Can you see the inside view now?
Yes, now we see the inside.
Yeah, that is the liver retractor holding the liver up.
There is no color.
Some
Or is it black and white?
Yeah.
authors also give the patient
नीचे black and white ज़्यादा
other high protein diet or omega-3 for 6 weeks, 1.5 gram omega-3, and it will reduce the size of left liver lobe.
ठीक है. External view दिखाओ जब तक आप set कर रहे हो. Right. Who is going to wheel the robot?
Arun, you want to say something about the docking?
Yes, we will just show you the external view about the docking. You
Yeah.
are blocking his view. आप हट जाओ camera के सामने.
So that they know.
Now this is the robot here. Can you see the robot? रास्ते में
Yeah, we can.
आपको जाना है पीछे से. Yeah, hold on, stay there. रुक जाओ. आपको हटना पड़ेगा. Now we've got 4 arms of the robot here. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the 4 arms of the robot. Okay. Just make sure it doesn't clash. Okay, stay there. Just stay there. Hold on. Ruk jao. Now this is the top lights off कर दो. ये disturb तो नहीं कर? Is this better now the view?
Yeah, we could see it.
Yeah. Can you see the robotic arms?
Yeah, we could see the robotic arms. You can see the center arm and the 2 side arms over
Right,
there.
right. Okay, so this is what is known as a camera arm, which has got the camera. So the camera actually goes inside this, as we will see. Now this is a telescope, which is a 3D telescope, and the view which we would be seeing would be a 3D view. And this telescope would go inside like that and get locked here. Now you can see this is locked.
Yeah, it is.
Once this gets locked and the robotic arm gets docked to this point here, I will be able to control the telescopic movements from the console, which means I can bring it in and out, sideway movement, rotation and focusing. All that will be under my control from the robot there.
Okay, and what's the degree of telescope you're using?
This is a 30 down. We have 0 degrees, we have 30 down and 30 up. These are the 3 telescope options which we have. Currently we have got a 30 down telescope. Now let me show the other instruments. Okay, so that's the telescope which we have. Then this arm is for the telescope only. Let me bring you to this other arm. Now if you see here, right from there, joint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and another 2 in the robotic. There are literally 9 joints which are present in these arms, far more than a human body can ever go. So my finger, which can only move in this direction, the robotic fingers can move in. Can I have one of the robotic instruments? It can move in 360 degrees. Now, can you focus this tip here? Just focus on that tip. Now see how this moves. Can you see that?
Yeah, we could appreciate the 360 degrees. And that's the difference between the laparoscopic instruments and the robotic instruments.
Not only laparoscopic, also human fingers. Now this
Yeah.
is impossible to achieve this movement. Can you just see this movement? I can go in any direction. It's almost like a snake dance which you are seeing here. Okay? So what happens is, this is the robotic arm. This is a plastic drape, which is a sterile drape, and it has got this bracket here. This bracket has got इसको निकालने के लिए Can you see this bracket? This bracket is part of the sterile drape. The sterile drape set costs 20,000. This bracket gets connected to the robotic arm which is there, which has been draped. So this plastic drape has been put there, and now I connect this. And click. When it clicks, you can see all these 4 wheels moving. Now these 4 wheels are what are going to be moved by my finger movement at the robotic console. So when I move the robotic console finger, these 4 rings are going to be rotating in various directions. We've got a light here. Now this is what is going to connected to the robot. Right now, because the trocar is not there, the robot has sensed that there is something wrong. So it is showing us a yellow light, danger light. So robot is very clever here. So this is how the robot gets connected to the patient. Now first we will start by connecting the telescopic arm. For that, now we move the robot forward to the head end. हाँ आगे ले आओ. वो बर्तन में काम है.
To add to Dr. Arun Prasad,
Yes.
docking is the important and the key to robotic surgery. If docking is not been done properly, there will be clash of instruments, and it's very difficult to proceed. Initially, when we started robotic surgery,
आगे आओ जितना आगे.
we had difficulty in docking. We used to take about an hour and 1.5 hours. But with now experience, our docking time has been reduced to less than half an hour. I think Arun would have gone to the same thing in Delhi Apollo. And, now we are able to dock much easier, and, the time has been considerably reduced.
Actually, it is a full teamwork.
Yeah, it is a complete work by a
If
team.
all 5 of us are coordinated,
Yeah.
like yesterday we did a bariatric bypass yesterday,
Okay.
our docking time was 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's because the entire team knew. So right now, like I'm showing, what will happen in the other situation is the robot moves in and the 3 of us are there, all 3 will do the connection simultaneously. Everything happens simultaneously. And if things are happening simultaneously, as you rightly say, the docking issue should not be there. It's very similar to laparoscopy. I remember when LabColi started, we used to take a long time to set up the laparoscope.
Yeah, that's right, Arun.
Dr. Arun, I feel that, since we are already behind the schedule and docking is going to take another, I think maybe 20-30 minutes.
No, not 20-30 minutes. We just talked.
Okay.
In 5 minutes we'll be done.
So I was wondering that, if we can start with the laparoscopy, because, the majority in the audience,
Sure.
they're not doing robotics.
What I'll do is I'll dock, I will show how the instrument moves inside, and then we will change.
Okay, sir.
TrueCar port, liver retractor TrueCar port. If you expose one big liver, do you change your liver retractor port position or no?
See, we standardly place the liver retraction port in the epigastrium, high up there, and I would never hesitate to put an additional port for liver retraction because I really need a nice view of the hiatus. So I will not compromise, and if I think that I need additional ports, I won't mind putting another 5 mm to retract the liver. But as Dr. Niranjan was saying, the Nathanson's retractor has got retractors with small and large sizes, so you could use a large one. And you could also take a suture on the diaphragm and you could further elevate it.
Sometimes if you put the port a little lower than epigastrium, it's better, because otherwise you cannot retract the liver very good and it will cut the liver. Your retractor may have liver injury.
I agree with what you're saying, sir, but I mean, it will also depend on what kind of retractor you're using. If you are having assisted or a manual liver retractor, I think I would agree with you, where you can place the port a little lower. But if you want to put the Nathanson's retractor, it has to be a little higher up so that it gives adequate flexion.
Professor Pasoti, I just heard about your country from Professor Mishra, and your department and the way you work and all. And I think it is possible for your patient, to complain, to adjust and take the protocols of nutrition and reduce the liver size and go ahead. But in countries like India and all, it is very difficult. So I understand, yesterday while I was talking to Professor, he was saying,
black and white
so I think it makes
Yes,
a
sir,
difference.
we are having color now.
Okay, fine.
Sir, can you just please tell us about the instrument that you are having inside?
Yeah, I will just do that. We'll just clean the telescope with some hot water. Where is the hot water?
There are also some articles that postulated that the patient who starts nutrition, diet before the surgery, and also exercise and weight loss, have a better outcome in long-term results.
I agree to that. I mean, that's true.
And also we should mention that bariatric surgery is a multidisciplinary team management, and all of the members should participate before and after the surgery for the patient.
Yeah, it is a team effort. I mean, if you look at our setup, we have a clinical nutrition, we have a psychologist, and they can assess 24 hours. And the patient can ring them directly. And advices.
Do you have the inside view or the outside view?
Yes, yes.
Inside or outside?
So we have the inside view now.
You have the inside view,
Yes,
okay?
we do have.
Right. Now what I am doing outside, can we have an outside? I am going to show you how this docking is done. Please, can you focus here, outside view?
Yes, we have the outside view now, sir.
Now this is a trocar, the robotic trocar which is there, and I am moving the robotic arm and connecting the robotic arm to this trocar. And this is what is the process where the robotic arm will take control of the trocar which we saw earlier.
In robotic surgery, whenever you have to dock the arms of the robot to the cannulas, you have to place the patient in the position in which you want it. Like if you are doing hysterectomy, so then maybe you have to put the position in the thoracic position and head loop. After the arms are docked, so then you cannot change the position. It's very important.
Okay, so that has got clicked. So now the robotic arm is connected to the trocar. And now as I was showing you, this instrument is going to go inside there, and this gets connected. Once the robot recognizes, we hear that sound and this has become white. Then I press this light starts to flash, which means that the robotic arm has now become mobile. And then under direct vision, can we shift to the internal view now?
Yeah, we have the internal view now.
I will bring the instrument there and lock. Last external view again, move away. Now you can see the external view complete. The telescope is there, one arm is there, one arm here, one arm here. Dr. Sudipto is holding on to the liver retractor. Now let's shift to the internal view now. Now this part of the surgery can be done by the assistant and the team. What happens in a well-running center, the surgeon now will walk in from the OPD or after having a cup of coffee, when the team tells that everything is ready, please come for the surgery. And what I have done here is the role of the assistant team. So now I can move from here on to the robotic console. Can we have the outside view of the robotic console there? Can you see the robotic console here?
Yes.
Dr. Arun, I would definitely agree with you, but also for the audience, I would, you've got good assistants, so you can have a cup of coffee and come. But I would prefer to place the ports myself, because if the ports are wrong, then your entire robotic surgery would get messed up. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. If that happens, I sack my assistant.
We do that.
The assistant job is to learn all this. Because soon what will happen is I will say, fine, I will dock the robot and go and go for a golf game while you complete the surgery. That's the aim. Now, if you look at the robot, this is the head where my head is going to be looking inside. And you heard the sound. The sound meant that moment my head comes here, there are two sensors here and the robot becomes active. Right now, anything I do here, the instruments are not going to move. They will only move if my head has come here and this is sensed. Then we have the finger consoles here. Right? I was just looking. Now, this console here, what it does is that it will help me set up the setup. It will bring this up, the head end goes up or down, the foot pedals move, so it's like, a Mercedes car where I can personalize it. And the newer model, it has a memory. So I come there, I press my name, it comes to that setup. Now once my hand is inside, my foot is going to control a few things. Can you show us the foot area? My right foot has got two controls for the cautery. My left foot has got control over the camera and the clutch. And with this combination, it's basically just like you drive a car, you can control all the four instruments. So what I will do is, if we have the internal view, show a few movements of the instruments before we move on to the laparoscopy. Can we shift to the internal view? Do you have the internal view now?
Yes.
Yeah, we have internal view now. Dr. Arun, yeah, I was just wondering, basically now that you've docked and you've got everything set up, I think the surgical technique, whether it's laparoscopy or robotic, is going to be the same.
Yeah.
And I think, to undock now and convert to laparoscopy.
Sure.
I think we can take, shall we take an audience poll for that?
Yeah, sure.
So the audience, do you want him to complete it by robotic or you want him to move on to laparoscopy? They want you to just go ahead, robotic.
So I'm afraid some majority in the audience, before we started, because there are more than 40 students,
Sure, I know. I agree with you. As people who are watching, they're going to start with laparoscopic, so we'll shift to laparoscopy as we have discussed. I will just show you a few movements which you could see here. Now, this is the kind of movement we are looking at. Sometimes, you are doing surgery at the hiatus. Now that is the hiatal area you can see. Now if I were to do suturing here, you can see how simple the various movements would have been. Can you see all these movements? So this is what gives us the edge. And this is how the camera moves around. So you saw those movements. We see the other movements. So we can move on to the laparoscopy, and I will show you how things are different. You can remove the instruments and undock. Abhishek, quickly. Show us how the undocking is done. Just put that instrument in again. Can you watch that? Now Dr. Sudipto is pushing the instrument. Stop, blue color. You can see that is blue light now. Now if he removes the instrument, don't touch that button. Just remove the instrument. This entire arm moves backwards. Just the instrument. Now you can see the entire thing has moved back and it's become white. Now if he's going to replace it with another instrument, put that instrument back. And just push the instrument forward. Just push the instrument forward. You can see green light flashing. Push the instrument forward. And the instrument has stopped, with the light having become blue again. So if the previous instrument was 2 millimeters away from the aorta and he puts in the next instrument, it will go and stop there. That is the safety aspect. Come, let's undock. Now we can have some question and answers, maybe regarding bariatric surgery or bariatric laparoscopy, while we switch over from the robot to the laparoscopy.
Dr. Arun, could you just tell what is your standard pre-operative preparation protocol for all your bariatric patients?
See, we would do, firstly I would take a lot of time talking to the patient. In India, we bariatric surgeons are also the counselors. So you need to first make sure, first we need to make sure that the patient is suitable. So I had recently a Pahalwan who came and said that I want to have weight reduced. I drink 20 glasses of lassi every day, and without that I can't survive. Now such a patient, whatever bariatric surgery you do, if someone is going to consume 4,000 calories a day, he is going to remain overweight regardless of the procedure. So first, suitability of the patient is to be assessed. Then we do certain investigations which would include CBC, LFT, KFT, X-ray chest, ECG. If the patient has got cardiac issues, then you can also do echo and maybe Doppler for the legs. If patient has got history suggestive of sleep apnea, then you can do sleep study in these patients. Patients who you think have nutritionally compromised, as we discussed earlier, you should do a serum iron, B12, folate, and vitamin D3 levels, which you can then follow up post-operatively. So these are the standard preparations, investigations which we would do, following which we would then admit the patient, give them DVT prophylaxis. No, just hold on. Abhishek, handle me. ऐसे करना. ये legs apart करेंगे, मुझे बीच में कराना. We're just readjusting the position of the patient. Then a pre-anesthetic checkup, a physician clearance and an endocrine clearance is essential. Pre-operatively and during surgery, you have to maintain that all preventive measures for deep vein thrombosis. So, don't have any guidelines on that. So currently the recommendation is 18 years to 65 years. I know people would do if ages above and below, but they have to be exceptions, and you have to decide it based on patients.
When you speak about counseling, what are the aspects that you would counsel the patient about?
We would have to counsel the patient that post-operatively the bariatric surgery is only a bariatric surgery is only a tool to help them. They should not think that bariatric surgery is magic. So if I do bariatric surgery, patient is going to lose weight, the BMI comes down, but they have to then maintain it by a healthy diet and lifestyle. So bariatric surgery is only helping them. As I said, if after bariatric surgery you continue to eat 4,000 calories a day, you are still going to be obese.
Just to add to what Dr. Arun has said, it's a lifetime commitment from the patient and to the doctor.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not like, you do a bariatric surgery and send them off and don't follow up. They need a regular follow-up because, as if you're going to do a bypass and or a sleeve, and if they're going to lose weight, so at the end of the couple of years, they might need further surgeries. They might need, a cosmetic surgery. So it is not just doing bariatric and sending them off. It is a complete follow-up, a teamwork, and a lifetime commitment and discipline between the patient and the doctor. So, that's the way things go. It's not like, remove the gallbladder, he goes off. We don't know what happens after that.
That's right, absolutely, fully agree with you. Some say that you are actually married to the patient with no scope of divorce.
Arun, don't tell me, I've got enough of them. Thank you. What is your...
so you've got a full harem, huh?
Yeah, I've got enough of them. With all types of, the possible complications and,
And you're continuing to look for more.
Yes. And Prem will elaborate if you want anything more. Yes.
Come on, be quick. Right, head up. There is history which is suggested that it's required, not routinely.
But there is increased risk for many cancers in a patient with morbid obesity. And we found 2 breast cancer and 4 cervical cancer in our patients among more than 800 patients.
Right. Sure.
I would agree with Dr. Arun. We routinely don't do mammography and pap smear unless there is some kind of indication to say that the patient requires it.
But these things are evolving, and I'm sure the last word is not said, so we cannot be dogmatic that you must do this or must not do this. All these things have to be individualized to the patient.
Now, Dr. Pazzuki, in your institution, what is your protocol for people with sleep apnea, and how do you go about managing them?
We don't do routinely a sleep test for all the patients, but we have a pulmonologist with us, and if in the first visit, which is done by a GP, he has any suspicion of sleep apnea syndrome, she will send the patient for a pulmonology consultation, and they do the management of the sleep apnea for the patient. And it's very necessary because in some survey, about 60% of morbid obese patients had sleep apnea syndrome with different severity.
I mean, that's actually an important message for all the audience here, that you have to get history of, snoring and sleep apnea, because, otherwise they'll have a very, very tough time post-operatively. And it's very difficult, particularly in the super obese. You need to put them on CPAP pre-operatively, intra-op, and you can even send them home with a CPAP machine, for a couple of weeks, and that really makes a lot of difference. So the lung evaluation is of prime importance for bariatric patients.
Any comments from audience? Questions?